Hi, are you a tenant? Are you wondering if you're losing too much money right now besides your rent? I believe tenants are losing money three ways. In this video, I'm going to show you how tenants lose money and how to stop it. Most tenants lose money by not knowing their rights. You have to know your rights. Most tenants lose money by not killing two birds with one stone. You have to make your rental work for your now and your future. And most tenants do not negotiate enough. Every tenant I know negotiate to get into a unit, but most of them stop right there. You have to negotiate 3x, not 1x. So let me walk you through. Knowing your rights. Every nation, every country out there has a tenant laws. Laws governing a tenancy. Laws governing rental services given by landlords to tenants. Every country has one. As a tenant, you want to familiarize yourself with the laws of your country. You want to familiarize yourself this way so that you know your rights. Let me tell you a personal story. My first apartment had bad windows. The windows would leak real bad winter time. Every other season was nice. I didn't feel it. But winter time, my apartment would get so cold that I would have to turn my heat all the way up and as well as turn my oven all the way up with the oven door open. Finally, I had it and I wrote a letter to management stating that I was not going to pay rent until they fixed my windows. Management did not show up. Nobody called me. And I stopped paying rent. Still, management did not call me. Nobody showed up. When spring came around, I started paying rent again. And it got me confused like, what was all that? Not until I became a real estate agent did I realize that the landlord was denying me right to enjoy the property. Yes, as a tenant, you have the right to enjoy what you're paying for. And that wasn't happening. So when I wrote that letter, management believed that I knew my right and I was exacting my right. And that's why they left me be. So as a tenant out there, you cannot leave that to anybody. You cannot leave it to your agent. You cannot leave it to your lawyers. You have to know the laws. And that's how you get to stand on your rights and claim your rights. That's number one. Number two, you have to kill two birds with one stone. What do I mean by that? In developed countries, there is a thing called credit report. When any tenant wants to get any property from a landlord, one of the requirements, besides your employment, besides your references, one of the requirements, the major requirement, is your credit report. If it's bad, with a low score, nobody gives you nothing. So, after moving in, why are you not using your rent to increase your credit score on that same credit report? You know why? Because most tenants do not put it on their contract. You have to tell your agent to include as a form of payment check, e-transfer, as in bank transfer, and credit. Once you include that in the original offer and you present it to the landlord, this is how I want to start paying, the landlord have no choice but to find a way to take that credit payment. You can pay with your credit card, but this I will let you know right now, this method is only for responsible, financially responsible tenants. This method is not going to work for tenants that don't pay their rent on time. It's not going to work for tenants that have a large balance on their credit card already. Avoid using this. If you don't pay back the balance on that credit card, the interest rate is going to crash your credit anyways. So do not even attempt it. If you're financially stable, financially responsible, and you're a tenant, look into using your rent to support your future as well as your present. What I mean by that is when you're finally ready to move to your own house, you buy a property, the first thing the banks will also check, just like the landlords are checking, the banks will also check your credit report. This report informs the bank of every loan and payments that you've made, and it shows them how responsible you are in making those payments. If they don't see a good number, which is the credit score, I believe in the US it's called FICO score. If they don't see a high number, they do not give you a mortgage. You have to go to a B lender or a private lender, and those will charge you higher interest rates. So as a tenant, you want to secure your present with your rent payment, as well as secure your future with your rent payment. Number 3, enough negotiation is not being done by tenants. When tenants want to move in, they're quick to negotiate price with the landlord. But they stay a whole year, make payments regularly, and then a year after that, the landlord comes with rent increase and you don't call for a sit down. You're leaving money on the table. You should call your landlord to negotiate your stay. Your being responsible tenant is a currency, and you're losing it if you're not negotiating with it. You also have to negotiate on your way out. Depending on the reason the landlord is giving you to move you out, call for a sit down. Let me tell you a quick story about that. I had a client that paid a whole year. 6 months into the agreement, landlord came and said, "Oh, I want to sell the property." My client was okay with it. And he goes, "Okay, let me have a sit down with you." At the sit down, the client reminded the landlord, "I've been a good tenant. You're breaking an agreement between us. I need 2 extra months plus my 6-month balance." So landlord said, "Okay, let me go think about that." My client ended up with 7 months payment on his way out. He got a whole month for free. Enough tenants are not negotiating their way out. You have to do that. You owe it to yourself to do that, especially if you've been a responsible tenant. The landlord is still going to have his place. He's still going to kick you out if he wants to. There's no point fighting it. So use it to your advantage. Negotiate your way out. These are the 3 ways I believe tenants are not doing enough to keep money in their pocket. And that's why I said tenants lose money daily. Thank you for watching. Join me in my next video, still about the pyramid, landlords, and how they lose money daily. And let's keep this series going. See you at the top.